Andrew.
Oh, that's a weird one.
But when I was young, like I didn't like I thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
So I told all my friends that like it meant Andre. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's just like, and then I started like doing research into like what does my name mean? Because like I was trying to write jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, Anders means like manly, masculine, like all the things that don't describe me at all.
Yeah.
And like my last name is just like the generic, like it's like Johnson. It's like the Danish
Jensen?
version
Yeah,
of John.
yeah.
It's the son of Jens.
Yeah.
And John means Jens.
Oh,
I mean, Jen means John. So like I was like, oh man, my name's so fucking generic. Like,
yeah. I heard this bit recently about, was it Denmark?
yeah.
It might have been Denmark, but it was one of the Scandinavian countries. When they were like taken over in some invasion, they were like, you have to have last names now, because before it would be like Jake Johnson. And so like half the names are like fucking jokes.
Oh, that's crazy.
Where they're like, oh, my last name means skinny because, my great grandfather was hugely fat at the time, and like all these like dumb jokes. But now they're like existing last names that have carried on.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like we might be going to war with Denmark for Greenland.
Dude,
so I'm kind of scared because like I don't like look into my Danish heritage, like because I look Portuguese, like I am Portuguese, like my family, like most of my family that I talk to is like full blood Portuguese, but I'm scared because they're like, oh, that Jensen guy, they're gonna send me to like.
Yeah, I don't, man. Like, that's such a mess. We can't technically go to war without an act of Congress. Technically, but
It's the world we live in, man.
yeah, it's a mess. But listeners, that voice you hear is Jake Jensen with an E, not like those O losers. Stand-up comedian from the Cape, from Cape Cod. Yeah.
I've lived in Bourne my whole life, pretty much. I graduated from Bourne High School. Like, there's not a lot of comedians that are like Cape Cod, like born and raised comedians. Like, a lot of them are like transplants.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because I feel like
Not a lot that I've met.
Yeah.
But I just I've been like, oh, I grew up in Boston.
Yeah.
I moved down here, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy.
It amazes me. The comedy scene on the Cape is insane.
It's blowing up.
Yeah.
Over the past, like, today is, like, I'm a new comic. I just started, like, today's 150 days since my first opening.
Oh, wow. Congrats. Yeah.
Sick. It's fun. I've been, like, doing shows and stuff, which is great for my, like, ego, I guess. It's been really fun. It's been really cool. It's been, like, a whole new experience of, like, learning and, like, making friends and, like, oh man, I love it. I think it's the greatest thing ever.
It is. We've been involved in the scene since. Oh Jesus! Look at me being super unprofessional.
Oh, you're good.
I can't believe that.
No, you're good.
This is your fault, kind of though.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
you had it on.
I had it on, so I'd hear it if you called. So I'm blaming you.
I'm on. I've been on Do Not Disturb.
But yeah, so we got involved in comedy like during lockdown and then coming out of lockdown. And I always tell people, I'm like, the comics around here are like way funnier than you would ever think. And there's so many that I'm like, how does this person not have like a Netflix special already?
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I think everybody's like working towards something, which is cool. Like everybody has different goals.
Yeah.
Everybody has different things that they want to do. The people around here are hilarious. Meeting the people that are like all over the place, like that are like trying to do the same thing that I'm doing is really, really, really cool. And like you never imagine that there would be as many really funny comedians as there are.
Yeah. Like you just assume if they're that funny, they would, they'd be a household name or whatever.
Oh, like a lot of them will be, but like it's like whether they're willing to put in the work to get there. And like when I first started, I thought it was going to be something that I did like 1-2 days a week. Like I would go out and like do jokes at a mic, and it would be something like a release for me.
Yeah.
But like it's become so much more. It's become like I'm going to work in the morning, and like I'm doing my work at my job, and then like something will pop in my head, and I'm writing.
Yeah.
Like I'm taking a break from whatever I'm doing, and I'm writing, and like it'll be like just cliff notes to like get there for later.
Yep.
But like no matter what, like it's always on my mind. It's like, all right, like I want to go out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like I have a show on Saturday. Like when am I gonna have time for myself? But like it is time for myself at the same time, because like it's the release.
So true.
Like,
yeah. Like I constantly get people, especially being single. Like you start talking to someone and they're like, "Do you even have time to date?" And you'd be like,
No,
not really.
No.
But like parties, like, well, I'd make time, but in the same aspect, I feel like what I do is so fun that I'm like, I don't feel like I'm at work the majority of the time.
I'm really glad to be single while starting this, because I meet a lot of comedians that are in relationships, and they're like, "Oh, it's so tough to balance like this thing, that thing," and I'm like, I'm really glad that I'm in a place where like the only thing I'm worrying about right now is myself.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my dog, and like I'm like, my dog will understand that. Like I'm coming home, don't worry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just glad to be in that place. It seems tough, but like when the time comes, like I'm sure like I'll meet somebody that's going to be so down with what I'm doing that like I'll be able to do the comedy thing and balance a relationship. But like that takes a really special person to understand like like you can't commit all that time to them, and that you need to be out there doing the damn thing.
Yeah, and it comes in cycles too. Like I remember, I can't. What the hell was I listening to an interview with? Maybe Snoop, but I don't think it was. And he was talking about working with Eminem, like later in Eminem's career, and they're like, it was insane because it would be 5 o'clock, and then be like, "All right, we're done," and they're like, "But we're in the." He's like, "No, it's quitting time." You know, like it was his job, and he's like, "I'm not passionate about it, but like I'm going to have time for my family as well." And it's like it's such a tough balance in general, you know. Like I got kids trying to find time to. I mean, they're older now, so it's like now I'm bugging them, be like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?
You guys want to come out to my event tonight?
You guys want to come hang out?"
Yeah. I'm glad I don't have kids too, but like kudos for you to be able to balance everything. Like I know that's tough.
I don't know if I did a great job.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did.
But if I did, I probably wouldn't be single. But yeah, I mean, it is that. And you know, I've had the shitty corporate jobs, and I think it was an important day when I'm like, I could have this job that everyone thinks is okay, and I was gonna say make more money, but I'm probably making about what I'd be making there. You know, it took some time, but
the longest of long-term goals for me is to not have to work a 9 to 5 and just do comedy. And like I'm 150 days in.
Oh yeah,
so like that's such a like I'm speed running this right now. Like not speed running it, but I'm doing it quicker than a lot of people. And like it's tough because like I'm still getting over the fact that like I have to go out and do the same jokes all the time. Yeah. And like I want to do like new jokes when I'm at shows, and but like new jokes are for the mics. Like when I go out to mics and like I don't care. Yeah. Like unless there's like a couple like really pretty girls in the audience and I'm like trying to show off and be like, "Oh man, like I got to do like the stuff I know works, so like maybe I can like impress one of these girls." But like other than that, like if I'm at a mic, like I'm going to go up and do a bunch of new jokes, and like 9 out of the 10 of them aren't working at all.
Right.
And like,
but that's kind of,
then I'll probably never do them again. Yeah. Like ever again. Like they'll be thrown away into the nether for another time, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, I'm getting over the fact that like I have to do these same jokes like this same 5 minutes, like because they work.
They work. Like, they work, and it's like, I think it's that fine line of, and part of I think what makes a good comic is making it sound like that joke is new every time you do it, you know?
And that's tough.
Yeah.
And like I did a show last night and you were there, and
I was there.
It was a little tough because like I think when it had nothing to do with anything other than like when I went up, like I wasn't feeling myself, and I felt like maybe it was like it wasn't coming off easy. It sounded rehearsed, and I'm like, a lot of people would like kick themselves, but I was like, it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
Like the next time, like I'm gonna do it 10 times better. Like I'm gonna figure it out.
That was a rough show.
It happens.
But I mean, and a lot of it is we didn't have a lot of tickets sold because they were like, we're gonna get a huge snowstorm. We're getting a huge snow, and it never happened.
It happens.
But at that point, people are already like, well, we're staying in.
And it wasn't my worst show. Like it was not my worst show. Like,
the worst show that we've ever put together. It was almost the exact like. I was not in a particularly good mood by the end of last night, just because I'm like, we're doing this again, and it was almost the exact same instance where like we had a handful of tickets sold, and like kind of the buzz was just starting to build, and then they announced like it's going to be a shit ton of snow. So that particular, it was at Stellwagen Brewery. Mo Musa was the headliner. Do you know Mo?
Yep.
He's freaking hysterical.
Very.
And I think Joe Buckley was on the show. It was a really good show. We had 9 tickets sold, but like maybe we'll get some walk-ins, and then it like really snowed. So out of the 9 tickets sold, 4 showed.
Those 4 people got a really good show. So I'm sure.
No, it was super awkward.
Man.
Like,
but I mean, like it was still probably funny in its own right.
I mean, yeah. And looking back, like it was not. I think there's a certain like threshold that you need to make where and I don't think we hit it last night, where like there weren't enough people that people felt comfortable laughing openly. Because I feel like there's that little bit of like once those giggles kind of start, like it builds and like everyone's laughing. And last night I just didn't feel like there was enough people there to kind of get that ball going.
Yeah, last night, so I took the bullet and I went first after Jimmy Doherty was the host, and he went up and he did his thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, this will be fun for like the few people that are here. And I went up and I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
So like as soon as I got off, like I was like, I'm gonna go sit in the crowd. Like I'm gonna go sit and I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna make it better for like the rest of the comedians, because everybody was funny. Like, everybody had great stuff. It was just like, you know,
it's just
the laughs weren't audible, so it was like tough.
And there was one girl. She was second to, was it Sarah? I'm so bad with names.
Yeah, she was. I've seen her.
She was really
at
funny,
open mics before, and
but
she's
she's
really
very like that, like quiet deadpan. Which in that room, I'm like, this is making it even worse.
Yeah,
you know. And it's so like we saw that on when we were doing like the internet Zoom shows where. Like if someone's connection was bad and they were kind of like trying to be like that awkward stand-up comic, and the bad connection, it was just like it came across like they were like really struggling, and like people are like, you can do it, you can tell the joke. And I'm like, no, I think that's part of the joke is they're awkward, and it was just like
I'm so glad that like I started comedy after that. I don't think if I started comedy and like we were doing Zoom shows and like I wasn't able to like go out and like people see me, like I don't think like it's gonna translate, and I don't think I'd probably still be doing it. So like I'm really glad like I waited.
It felt more open micy, where it was almost all comics, and it would go for like, you know, like hour ish, but then people would hang out for the next hour or so and just shoot the shit because you were just like, oh my god, human interaction of any kind. It was. I don't know. It's what got us into doing comedy, and we've gotten to meet some super cool people and do some really fun shows. So
I'm looking forward to doing more. So it's great.
Was this something that like you were always wanting to do, or like how the hell did you get here?
So originally, like I had a group of friends, and like we talked about it, and we were going to an open mic in Boston called the TAM at the TAM, and eventually like it shut down before I like had the guts to do it. And then like come like last summer, like I started like I have like a couple mental health issues that like I deal with, and like they really came to a head, and like I was in a really really tough place, and I decided like I wanted to like do it. Like I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna write jokes for a little bit, and like eventually like I'm gonna get up there and I'm gonna do it. And then like one day one of my buddies was like, yo dude, like there's a mic like in Buzzards Bay at this place called A Places, like you live in Bourne, like you should just go and do it. And like I was like, all right, like let me like write down a couple jokes and like I'll think about it. And I showed up that night, and I was early because like it was like right down the street from where I lived.
Yeah.
And like I met AJ, and AJ was like very supportive, and like I went up and I did like 2 jokes, and I was drunk, and like it wasn't good. Like, it's recorded, it's on my Instagram, like my first set ever. It's bad, like it's really 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 bad. But like I met like a couple dudes. I met Jimmy Doherty and this guy named Jeff Buttrick. And they like really, Jeff is wicked funny. He's not doing comedy right now, but like when he comes back, like he's someone to like look out for. He's from he's from like South Coast somewhere.
Yeah.
And we started going to like Proof 22 when they were having comics there.
Yep.
And I ended up going out like 3-4 nights a week, and like really really pushing myself to like write jokes. And like AJ and Josh were like seeing the work that I was putting in. They started putting me on shows, and like we started traveling. Like I'd go to New Hampshire with them and like do shows with them there. And it's just like it's grown to be something that I do like all the time, and that like people are starting to like know me for. Yeah, which is like super cool.
That shit can be really weird. Like especially like the first time you get. Like, I get recognized a lot because I work with, you know, so many other businesses. So, like, I'll be out, and it happened to me, was it Wednesday? Thursday? The hell's today? Friday. So, it happened, I think, like, Tuesday or Wednesday night. Whereas, like, leaving a spot where we were running an event, and someone's like, hey! And I'm like, hey! And it was someone that I'd worked with at another business. But the ones that like really blow your mind is like I've had people recognize my voice from listening to the podcast, and it's just like it's the most insane feeling.
It's fun because like if I go out in Bourne and I see like people that I like went to high school with, they're like, oh look, it's Jake, he's a fucking loser. And then like I go out in Hyannis, and people are like, oh, it's Jake, it's the comedian, he hangs out with AJ. And I'm like, oh god, like it's a totally different vibe. It's fun. Like I don't go out and like drink, and like I drink a little bit, but like I don't drink heavily, so like I'm not out at bars all the time. But like when I do go out and people are like, oh, it's the comedian, I'm like, yeah, that's me. Like you got me.
And people love to go talk to the comics at the end of the shows. Like that never occurred to me as being a thing until like we started doing the shows, and I'm like, oh, people hang out and like shoot the show with the comics. And
it's really cool. Like after a show, when like a random person will come up to me and be like, hey, like that one joke was really funny, and like it seems like my comedy is working because like it's never the same joke. It's always like, oh man, like the DoorDash driver joke was really funny, and then like the next person will be like, but like that Anne Frank stuff though, like is really funny, and I'm like, oh god, like I have to keep it because people are actually finding it funny, like, which is good. And like I'm glad it's working, and like the work I'm putting into like writing my jokes is like working, but like I want to do more. Like I'm always craving more.
Well, I think that's that. It's so weird. Like I always say, creative people are the only people who can love something they did and hate it at the exact same time. Being like, this is my favorite piece, but let me tell you what sucks about it, and then you point to all the, you know, and it's I don't know why we do it.
One of the things I find really fun is that like I'll do a couple shows and like my mom will come out. And like me and my mom are like really close. Like my dad wasn't around after I was like 14. So like me and my mom are really close. And like I make a lot of jokes about my dad, but like what she doesn't know is I also make a lot of jokes about my mom. But like whenever she comes out to my shows, she'll look at me and she'll go. Like the first show she came to was at Proof 22 with when Kuze headlined, and like it was my first show ever.
Yeah.
Like, and my mom came, and like I was like, I'm not gonna make fun of you. Like she came by my house and she was like, hey, can you not shit on me tonight? And I was like, yeah, I got you. So then like she came to the set. I did a show at Knockabout. Tony V was the headliner. Awesome fucking show. And I got to go up, and like right before, my mom's like, don't you dare, like I still pay your phone bill. And I'm like, fuck, like I don't want to start paying that, so like I better not make fun of her. And like, but I have really good jokes about my mom that like I don't think she'd hate, because they're not like 100% true, but like she'd be pretty mad if she heard them, I think. But so
I think that's kind of the whole comedy thing is like the jokes that are best are genuine. They come from truth, but then you blow them up for comedy, for comedic.
Absolutely, you have to lie a little bit, and that's why I feel like I'm a great comic, because I love to lie. It's my favorite. You can ask any of my old friends; they'll tell you, great liar.
Yeah. Is there stuff that you are like, well, that's not grounds for comedy? Like,
no. No. I remember, and it's like not great, because like I'll do anything at an open mic. Like if there's only like a few people there, like let's like nobody's recording, like let's tote the line a little bit. Like like I'm not gonna say anything like super racist, but like when the plane crashes happened a few weeks ago, I was the only comic there making jokes about it, and like one of the comics came up to me after and he was like, "You're really brave," which I think is code for like I wouldn't have done that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I would have done that. And like, but like we're at an open mic, like we're having fun. Like I'm not gonna like if somebody's name is on a show, like I'm not gonna go there and like offend everybody, but like if we're like fucking around, like let's tote the line a little bit, because like when we tote the line a little bit, that's when we get like the really good laughs, or you'll get that like and I'm like, that's better than a laugh.
It's still a very good reaction to get, because you're getting It's like the worst thing is no reaction.
I started doing a joke recently that like has to do with like Princess Diana, and like you're old, so like you can tell me like.
First of all, fuck you.
Yeah, you're old, so like tell me like why do you guys love her so much?
I don't understand.
I know you don't, but like people your age,
oh my god,
every time I started doing that joke at shows, it would get a, and I was just like, dude, like this happened before I was even born. Like I'm going to be 30 in April. Like I'm no spring chicken. But
it happened a long time ago.
Yeah, but it still gets that. And it's the same people that like love this country, so it's like she's not even from America. I get it. Life is life.
I don't. There's so many things that I want to address here.
Let's do it.
Like I don't get why Americans seem to care more about the royal family than British people do. I don't get it. Like who gives a shit?
I don't understand why we still have kings and queens, but like
it's their. And they are the most, not even ineffective. Like they don't govern. Like they're just figureheads. They're just very, very rich people. They have no real say in the government.
It's all a show.
Yeah. And so like everyone was like, "Oh, Princess Diana, she was so great." And I shouldn't say that she's not a good person. That's not what I'm saying. But they're like, oh, she donates so much of her time. And I'm like, what the fuck else does she have to do?
I think it was because she was beautiful. Like, if she was like...
I guess. Like, she was ugly, no one
If she was ugly, no one would care.
No,
they would have been like, oh, there goes another one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even average looking.
Yeah, no, she was beautiful. And I get that. But like, the reaction the joke gets, mwah, I love it. I love it every time. And like, I'll...
It was, like when she passed, like people were visibly in mourning, and you're like, you don't know her. Yeah, it's sad. Someone died, but people die all the time.
Yeah.
To me, I was like, the way people feel about her when she passed was how I felt when Robin Williams passed. Because that felt like I lost a family member. Because I'm like, he was on TV when I grew up, and I watched him all the time, and watched all the specials and interviews, and then my kids watched his movies, and it was like, he felt like part of the family. Princess Diana, I don't know her.
I love Flubber, so like that's
Wow, that's not the movie I would have picked. But.
I love Flubber.
Jumanji, maybe. Like,
I Love You, Dad. That's a great movie with Robin Williams. Have you ever seen that one?
I don't think so.
So like, it's the story of like, so the beginning of the movie, him and his son have like a really complicated relationship, and he's like a teacher at a high school, and then Robin Williams' character like goes into his son's room and finds him dead from autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh, that sounds like Robin Williams' movie.
So he stages it to look like a suicide.
Yeah.
And like at the beginning of the movie, no one liked his son.
Yeah.
And then after he died, like everyone started like, oh, we miss him so much. Like he was such a great person.
Yeah.
And like, this is an old movie, and I'm gonna ruin it for you because like that's the type of guy I am.
Whatever.
At
my fault for not saying it.
At the end of the movie, like he gets so sick of everyone idolizing his son that they're having like a big in memoriam for his son, and he tells everybody that like he killed himself jerking off, and like that's how the movie ends.
That's crazy.
It's
he used to do some like really fucked up stuff.
Yeah.
So, since we're talking about old comics, were you in the text chain the other night when Jimmy was shitting on me?
Yes.
Okay. So for our listeners, to recap, Jimmy is obsessed with Norm Macdonald.
Everybody should be obsessed with Norm Macdonald.
And all I said was, I don't know if I would put him, I can't remember if it was the top 10 or the top 5 comics of all time. I'm like, I just don't know if Jimmy lost his shit. He started like texting people. He's like, everyone says you're stupid. And I'm like, what did you say? I told him you hate Norm Macdonald. I'm like, that's not what I said.
All right, so what was told to me was that you said that Bert Kreischer was funnier than Norm Macdonald. So
yeah,
is that how you feel?
That was definitely taken out of context. I just generally don't find Norm Macdonald that funny.
Fair enough. Comedy is subjective.
Yeah, and that was kind of my point.
That's fine, but like, we're still allowed to give you shit.
Well, yeah, I mean,
which is fair.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I'm not mad that
I didn't. To be honest with you, like I knew I was coming here on Friday, so I didn't say any bad words about you. So
okay,
if that makes you feel any better. Like,
well, now that we're more friendly, then you can feel free to say bad words.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I was just like, I don't know if I'd put him in the top 10, and then Jimmy just was like,
oh, that's fair.
You know what you fucking talking about? And then I'm like, I'm like, you know. And then I think I was like making a point of like who was like top right now, because Shane Gillis's name kept getting thrown around. It was a drunken bar conversation, so it definitely bobbed and weaved, because at some point someone it might not have been him, but was saying that Shane Gillis is the voice of comedy, and I think that's how Bert Kreischer came up, and I'm like, I don't know if that's true.
Shane Gillis is really funny.
I think he's very funny.
He's one of my favorites right now, but like comedy just is subjective. So like some of the guys that I really like right now, like have you heard of Casey Rocket? Or like Casey Rocket was a regular on Kill Tony for like a very short amount of time.
Okay.
And his comedy stylings is like he goes up and like he'll start like singing 90s rock songs. Like he'll go up and start singing Creed, and then he'll like do a crab man walk across the stage. And like just like it's just like him riffing, like doing like stupid shit.
Yeah,
and, like I love that. He has this one joke where he's like why do they want me to take so many? Why wouldn't they want me to take so many pills if they didn't make them so goddamn small? And it's like it's so funny.
Yeah,
like comedy's super subjective. Like some people think that I'm funny, and then some people think I'm not funny at all. So like
yeah, and I think that was kind of like Jimmy was saying that like Norm Macdonald is like the comedian's comedian, and which they used to say about Bob Saget too. And I don't love Bob Saget either. He's fine, but
Norm Macdonald, when he was doing the Saturday Night Live, he was doing the weekly update, like writing jokes about things that were happening like on the spot every week, like. I admire that shit. Like that shit
That's super tough.
Like,
yeah.
To watch the news every day and write jokes about that, and like how Norm Macdonald used to shit on OJ, like after OJ.
I mean,
it was great.
Yeah.
Every week, and like NBC like was like, please stop talking about OJ Simpson, and then he'd go up and he would be like, OJ, like, oh man, it was great. It was the best, and like that was before I was even born.
Yeah,
and like I love that shit.
Yeah, and I mean, I am a big fan of John Oliver for that same. It's super topical. It's important and it's funny. The Daily Show guy, Jon Stewart, is the same way. Like it's got to be incredibly difficult to do because topical shit always sometimes pretty serious, and you're like, oh, I gotta go make a joke about these airplanes crashing, not on an open mic.
That's why, like, the Saturday Night Live has a team of writers.
Yeah,
it's like a bunch of people working really hard. But like when Norm Macdonald was doing it, you could tell Norm Macdonald was writing those jokes. Yeah, like you could tell, and like everybody has the right to their opinion. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you you're stupid to your face. Promise.
You gonna text me later?
Yeah,
you're stupid.
Yeah, dumb.
Yeah. But then it's like, then we would start talking about like who should be in the top 10, and then like every time like someone came up, it's like, and Jimmy's like, yeah, okay, and I'm like, well, there can only be 10 in the top 10, and the one that he that I said that I'm like should be in the top 3 is like George Carlin, and he was kind of like, bah. And I'm like, how can, like, it's George Carlin?
Yeah, he'd be in my 10.
Yeah,
but like he might not be in other people's.
Yeah.
I think like very few comedians would be in like overlapping top 10s. Maybe like Dave Chappelle. Yeah, like, I think everybody loves Dave Chappelle for the most part.
And
unless
I feel like
he offended you.
And I feel like Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah, I mean, I like Mitch.
Yeah,
he'd probably not top 10, but like he'd be up there. Like,
because I feel like he was such a short-lived comedian that like he didn't have time to fuck up too badly. So like you can't hate him because he didn't really. He didn't have that moment where like the internet was trying to burn him down for some reason.
Yeah.
Who was like your first stand-up comic that you're like, this is the guy, this is the shit?
Oh man.
Don't say AJ.
No, definitely not. I remember, I'm going to go back to Dave Chappelle because like I remember like waiting for my like parents to fall asleep to like watch Dave Chappelle on the TV in my room with like the sound on 1 so they like wouldn't come in, and like I liked watching like the stupid like Wild 'N Out, like that's not stand up, but like I always liked like comedy growing up.
Yeah. Like
I remember like spending my mom's like debit card money on like iTunes comedy specials like that. They're probably still on my phone. Like,
God, you're so fucking young.
I'm not that young.
Dude, you remember spending money on
I was
iTunes. Like iTunes is still a thing. Like I remember watching like the HBO comedy specials and VH1. Was it VH1 that had a comedy hour that was hosted by Rosie O'Donnell?
Yeah.
Like that.
But like I always liked dark humor, like Anthony Jeselnik's like that was like growing up I liked that, like when I was like in high school and whatnot. I always liked dark humor. Like I'll talk a lot about death and like shitty people in my sets.
Yeah.
Like I tote the line a little bit.
But I think one of my favorite bits of Jimmy's is like his dead dad jokes, because I mean and I've talked with people about it on the show before, and like I've called it the Dead Dad Club. It's like there's something like when your dad passes that is like dark and like in a weird way. I'm
kind of looking forward to doing dead dad jokes one day. I'm gonna get like a letter in the mail being like, your dad passed away, and I'll be like, sweet, part of the club. He's not around. Like, and it's crazy because like my dad lives in Wareham and like I live in Bourne, which is like the town over, and I haven't seen him in 15 years. And like I think part of the reason why I started doing comedy is like maybe like he'd be like like one of the people in his family will stumble upon like my comedy and like show him, and like I'll post things on Instagram with the hopes of like maybe my dad will see my joke about him and like get it upset for like 3 minutes. Like, that'd be sweet. Like
Spite is a very powerful motivator.
Oh man, if I become famous, like I'll never give them a penny. I promise. I promise.
Yeah, no, it's it is definitely moved Inebri-art many a time where I'm like, okay, well I'll fucking show you.
Yeah, that's the key.
You think I'm gonna fail? All right, you just gave me a year and a half worth of motivation, so I can be like, go fuck yourself.
It got me through like 3 years of college, and then I realized that like partying and doing drugs was wicked fun. And I ended up dropping out, but like that year was fun too, you know.
Yeah, don't do drugs, kid.
Yeah, don't. You'll end up a line cook and a comedian. You don't want that.
So you've mentioned Instagram, and it could just be my algorithm because we work a lot with restaurant people, whatever. But I'm seeing like more and more of like these restaurant people doing like either they're recreating like rude customers. There's like one guy who has like 12 different personas of all these different people that work in his restaurant. Like, has that ever been like
something that I want to do?
Yeah, have you ever been like, oh, I can do like the line cook version?
No. Because like so Instagram and like TikTok and all that's super interesting.
Yeah.
And because like it offers like tons of avenues for all these comedians to like do all these different things. I'm like I said, I'm 150 days into stand-up comedy. That's like the only thing I'm focused on is just doing the stand-up part, like going up to mics, going to shows, like doing like the skits and stuff. Like they're funny and like, but I don't think I could translate well to doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not a good actor.
Yeah.
I'm like wholly me when I like do anything. So like, and there's other things that I want to do with comedy, but like I don't want to do skits. I don't want to do like stupid, like not stupid, but like Q&A stuff like that people do. I just want to focus on writing jokes, going on stage, doing my jokes on stage and getting laughs. And like, yes, I'll post my stuff, but it's mostly just to show the people that I went to high school with that like I'm not dead or like, doing drugs. Like I'm doing something with my life other than that.
Yeah. Do you get... I'll tell you the story and see if you have something remotely similar. And because it was like one of the most offended I've been recently. And I ran into someone... I used to work at Home Depot. And I ran into someone I used to work with. And they're like, oh, what are you doing now? And I'm like, oh, just Inebri-art. That's all I do. And this is as close as a quote as I can make it. Ugh, do you make enough money doing that? And I'm like, who the like, if I was like, oh, I started a landscaping company, you would just been like, oh, great. And it's like, I know you work at Home Depot. I know what you make. You don't make enough money doing this. So it's have you had that kind of like response of like where they basically to your face kind of like shit on this thing that you're trying to do?
A little bit. Like I'll tell people at work and they'll be like, oh, well, that's cool. And then I'll be like, because I'll be like, I'll have a show coming up and I'll be hounding these people like, you guys got to come see me. Like, it'll be a lot of fun. Like, I appreciate like the more people I can get to these shows, the more likely they are to put me on more shows.
Yeah.
Because like half of it is like filling the room and like the other half is going up and killing the room.
Filling the room is goddamn hard.
So like it's tough because they'll be like, oh yeah, like we know you're like a comedian, because like I'll be testing my bits in public like at work and shit, because like I don't, other than like the friends that like I made like doing comedy and like my few close friends, like I'm not out a whole lot. So like I'll test a lot of it at work and they're like, oh, shut the fuck up, like, please stop. And then like eventually like I'll get them to come out. Like I had like 4 or 5 of my coworkers come out to the Knockabout show, the Tony V show, and like they had a great time. And like they came back and they were like, they told everyone at work like, oh no, he's funny, like he's not just like pulling our leg. Like,
it's such a weird, it's a weird skill to be a stand-up comic, because it doesn't necessarily translate to being funny in a conversational way. Like it is entirely different.
Oh yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
When I was like really little, like I would always tell like jokes, and like my family now likes to remind me, like, I remember when you were 4 and you'd be like, hey guys, I have a joke, and then you'd tell the joke and we'd all fake laugh.
Yeah.
kind of doing it in like as an adult, which is cool. But it's tough. It's definitely like it's really tough, and it comes to there's a lot of work put into writing. There's a lot of work into like troubleshooting your jokes, and like I'm not the type of guy that's gonna like do the jokes in the mirror in the bathroom, like staring at myself doing them. Like the only way I'm learning is by like doing it in front of people.
Yeah.
And that takes 800 bombs to get that joke good. Like I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, it's. Was it? I think Chris Houghton for the longest time was like, "You should do an open mic. You should do an open mic. You should do an open mic." To the point where I'm like, started to kind of like write some jokes, and then I'm like, "No, I can't. I can't do one more thing because I am that kind of person that would want to do it all the time." And I'm like, I'm doing what I want to do all the time, and so I was lucky enough that I got to do a roast of one of the owners downtown. The restaurant owners downtown Plymouth. So I got to do like experience it and had the joke where I'm like, I think this one's gonna kill, and then it killed, and then other ones that I'm like, this is pretty good, and it goes nowhere. You're like, all right, so.
Has there been a roast of Andy Driscoll yet?
No, there has not. I mean, I got shit on at that.
Let me know when there is.
All right.
Because I'll be there for that.
Yeah.
I want to get into roasts. I think that's something like I like to open. If I go to like an AJ open mic, or like if Josh or Adams or AJ Haypenny are hosting a mic, like I like to put a little jab at them at the beginning just to like let them know that like I got their number.
Yeah.
And that I'm like waiting for the response.
I think they all do that. Like, you know, I see that being pretty common, but. And like sometimes it's just a natural thing to do, like where you shit on the comic that was right before you a little bit. Oh God, Pete. What the hell's Pete's last name? Peter Martin. Yeah. He does this whole bit about how he looks like he just came from losing a custody hearing, and then I cannot remember who went up after him. But it was this woman, and she goes, "I look like I just won that custody hearing against Pete," and you know, it's like that kind of, I don't even know, just like throwing shade a little bit back and forth is like such a key thing to like the stand-up comedy life. I think, especially like once you kind of get them off stage and they say outlandish shit about each other.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
We say worse shit when it's like we're drinking beers afterwards. Like
yeah.
I used to like to start all my sets by telling everyone that I look like first one was I look like I know what fentanyl smells like. and then I was starting my sets by saying that I looked like I dated a failed OnlyFans girl. Like wicked fun stuff to say.
Yeah.
They're like you gotta shit on yourself first to get the crowd on your side.
Yeah.
And then once they're on your side, you just gotta kind of keep them on your side, because like you can start saying some outlandish shit and then they'll start not liking you, and the rest of your set is gonna go bad.
Yeah, I think the worst time I ever got roasted was my youngest, who at the time was like 7, and it was to the point where I'm like, I'm so proud and hurt at the same time. Like, it was fucking vicious. We were riding in the car, and my kids were little, so like 7 and 9 maybe, and I was already divorced from their mom. They might have been a little bit older, and like I didn't want them to they weren't going to meet anyone I was dating until it was serious. Mm-hmm. So we're going in the car, and my son's like 10 or 11, sounds about right. Because, like, the topic of, like, having a beard came up, and my youngest is like, didn't he tell you? I'm like, tell me what? And they're like, you know, Grammy found a hair growing out of his chin, and she pulled it out. And I'm like, buddy, don't let her do that. And he's like, why? I'm like, because ladies like the facial hair. And without missing a beat, my youngest goes, then why are you so lonely? And it was just like, that is fucking so harsh. I'm so proud.
I love that.
Yeah. And it was just so fast. It was brutal.
You gotta love it.
Yeah. And it's
Nobody's gonna get you worse than your own flesh and blood.
Yeah, I'm like, you can't be mad about that. That was a fucking solid joke.
That is really good.
And again, for like a 8-9-year-old.
Has a future.
Yeah. Oh, they're still funny.
How old now?
Turning 21 in May.
That's crazy.
I'm not fucked up.
I mean, kids.
Yeah.
I would be an awful father. So I know my dad was bad. I was like, I'm not going to repeat that mistake.
It's a very weird thing, like, because everyone does it so differently, and sometimes you like see other parents and you'll be like, what part of that seems like that's a smart idea?
When I'm dating, I tell girls that I have children and they have to earn the privilege to meet them.
And how's that go?
Yeah, I don't talk to girls. I don't do it.
No. So what's next? Like, what is your next step? Like, what is your, maybe not your lifelong goal, but like your 2025 goal?
I want to get, I don't know. I have a couple shows coming up, which I'm looking forward to. But like the goals really are like do more stuff in Boston, branch out a little bit. I think this summer on Cape's going to be really fun. I think we're going to be doing a lot of shows.
Knockabout gets great crowds.
Yeah, and like some of the guys aren't going to be around this summer, so like it's going to be like all hands on deck, like step up. Like,
yeah,
I want to turn my excellent 5 minutes that I have right now into like more, like maybe like 10. Write a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
I want to get into roasting. Me and Jimmy have been talking back and forth about getting something going together. I don't want to say too much about it, but like we're working on getting something going, hopefully.
I think the hardest thing about that is roasting someone that people really, I don't want to say really care about, but like, especially if you're going to do it at a location where people are going to be buying tickets.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like, you need someone, like, people care about Tom Brady. People watch this roast that have never met him. But now you're trying to get people to... So, initially, we were going to roast this guy, Carl Heine. And that would have done great. But he's like, absolutely not. And we're like, all right, so let's do someone else. And so I reached out to my buddy Jordan. And he's like, why don't you do like one of the town selectmen? I'm like, fucking absolutely not. Like, that is the worst idea possible.
It's like doing Tom Brady. Like, what are you guys thinking? Everyone loves this man.
But it's just like, no one's going to like say anything bad about them because you're like, I might need a permit someday.
I really want to get into doing the roasting stuff.
Yeah.
I think I love making fun of people. I love being made fun of. I have plenty of stuff for people to make fun of me for. So like, let's go.
Yeah.
I've been like, I want to shout out a couple of the comedians that I've been working with. Like, have you met Brian Wayne yet?
No.
He has like the best 5 minutes, 7, 8, 10 minutes in comedy right now. He's an open micer, but he does a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Super funny guy from the South Coast.
Okay.
He's going to be doing a lot of stuff like this summer, I'm sure. And like, you're probably going to meet him, and he's great.
I say I don't know him. I'm really bad with names.
No, he looks like Alec Baldwin. He's got a huge testicle. He told me to bring up the huge testicle and I talked to him the other day. But he's really funny.
Just believe that.
Working with Jimmy and all them, like
Jimmy's another one. Jimmy, a friend of mine met Jimmy, and Jimmy was like, I want to be a stand-up comic. They're like, oh, you need to go talk to Andy. And then just through a random happenstance, I ran into him. And he's like, wait, someone told me I need to meet you. I want to be a stand-up comic. And I'm like, oh, fucking here we go. So like, that shit happens all the time. I'm like, talk to AJ Haypenny, get on the open mic, blah, blah, blah. And I say to him all the time, like, fucking kudos to you, man. Like, I thought you were just going to be this fucking drunk idiot that I was going to have to, like, run into once in a while. But now he's a drunk idiot that I run into once in a while who is a stand-up comic.
I'm really lucky that, like, the first open mic room that I was ready to do comedy and I walked in was an open mic ran by AJ.
Yeah.
And, like, meeting AJ also led me to meeting Josh.
Yeah.
And, like, going on the road with those guys has changed everything.
Yeah.
And, like, doing work with those guys and, like, being around, like, the people at Paperback has changed everything for me and has made, like, not like my dreams come true, but like has made like, I don't like to give them so much credit because I'm putting a lot of work into.
Yeah.
But like meeting those guys has like led me to like finding avenues to like be a better person and like do something that I really love.
Yeah.
And like,
because they're not gatekeepers about it. They're not like,
and they want everyone. It's not that they want everyone to succeed, but like if they see you putting the work in, they see you going out like a lot and like working on your jokes and like taking their advice. Because like if like AJ and or Josh tell me something, like I'm listening to it, I'm writing it down, like, and I'm following it, so that the next time I go out and I do something and they see me like listening to them, they'll be like, the kid's fucking listening, like, you know what I mean? Like, and they're gonna want to do more with me.
And I mean, Josh is another one. Like,
I love Josh. Josh is like my favorite person in the whole entire world. He was
like really new coming out of COVID, and he started doing our shows, and I think he was doing like 5 minutes, and then there was one show that we're doing in Carver, and the headliner canceled like super last minute, and AJ's just like, Josh, your headline, and Josh's like, what's going, okay. And he absolutely crushed.
Josh and me went to New Hampshire. We went to like, I think like Lincoln, New Hampshire. It was by Laconia. We drove like 3 hours in my shitty fucking Grand Marquis. We drove all the way up there, and we get there for the show. It was the worst show I ever did. And it wasn't my fault, because like we get there and there's a kid's birthday party going on and he's the headliner. So like I made sure to say all my awful jokes, so all the little kids left. So like the people that wanted to hear Josh at the end of the night got to hear Josh. And his set was awesome. And it was worth it because I made like 3 or 4 people laugh. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Trip's worth it for me. I made a few people laugh. I'm happy.
Yeah, there's always that shit. I remember, has AJ ever told you like he did someone booked him at some sort of show, and it turned out it was like a post funeral. I'm like, that's like
I've been listening to you and like the couple episodes with you.
Oh,
AJ, so I heard. I have heard. He didn't tell me, but I did hear.
And it's just like, who in their right mind does this shit? And it's just, you know, I mean we've had that shit happen too. Like where we did, you know, they brought us in to do like this beer mug painting. And then it turned out to be like at not even a retirement home, like elderly people that needed like care all the time. And I'm just like, oh, I feel like I'm teaching a fucking kindergarten class. And like, I get it. Like they don't, but like this one woman, all of a sudden, like I look over and she's got like a Sharpie and she's just like drawing on the mug. And I'm like, I don't know. And then she's like, blah, blah. Well, what do I do with this marker? And I'm like, I don't know where you got the marker. And she's like, you gave it to me. And I'm like, I don't have one to get. It's and you're just like, never again, not doing that anymore.
That's why I get nervous doing shows on Cape, because it's like there's a lot of old people. Like, are the old people gonna understand like my French Montana joke? Probably not. Like, so it's like,
I don't even know what French Montana.
Exactly.
I'm not old, fuck you. But and that's one of those things that like AJ does masterfully. Like it doesn't matter what room he walks into. It could be the most conservative room, and he doesn't really change his set, but they still love him by the end of it.
AJ can make anything sound funny.
Yeah.
Like, he could go up and be like, poop farts, and, like, the whole fucking crowd goes crazy.
Yeah. And I've just known him so long that I just don't... I was giving him shit. I wasn't even giving him shit one time. I meant it as a compliment. And I was like, I'm like, you killed tonight. I'm like, you made me laugh. And he's like, as long as I make you laugh. I'm like, no, I just heard your set 100 times, so it's like...
He did a really funny joke one night, and then he got off, and I was like, did Josh write that joke? It was really funny. It was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... But good guys, I guess. So where can people go to find out where you're going to be? Do you have, like, a website?
I don't have a website. I post most of my stuff on Instagram. My ad is at JakeIVXX. And I'll be posting about shows and inspirational stuff.
Stuff?
It's like my personal Instagram too. I don't care. Let people know who I am.
Yeah.
I'll be in Amherst. I found out last night. I don't know what the venue is yet, but I'll post it on my Instagram on the 8th of March.
Okay.
And then I'm going to be doing Aquatic on April 19th.
Which is down the Cape.
Which is in Falmouth. And like that's like a few days before my 30th birthday. And it's going to be fun. And then I'm going to do that show, and I'm going to Denver for a week. So I'll be in Denver doing shows at Denver.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Chris is going to try to hook me up with some people. Right, I have nothing like locked in yet, but like...
But you're going to go out there.
I've never been to Denver before. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to like smoke some weed, like go to a concert at Red Rocks, like enjoy my 30th birthday. Like
Who are you gonna see?
Nobody you know. Danny Brown, JPEG Mafia, Mexican OT, Denzel Curry at the Red Rocks Amphitheater. It's going to be sick.
I don't know who those
Yeah, they're a bunch of hip-hop acts. I'm a big hip-hop head. I love hip-hop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I enjoy all kinds of music.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, all right.
I don't know. I love the Wu-Tang Clan.
Cool.
Yeah.
I know I look like a January 6th rider, but you know. So for listeners, make sure you check out Jake's stuff, and we will catch you guys again next week.
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. Thanks again for listening.